We have a report that the second plane may have flown out of Newark, New Jersey. This is an official who was speaking on the condition of anonymity. Again, there is no confirmation of that. We just know that there were two planes that went in. The first one apparently was an American Airlines flight that was from Boston to Los Angeles.
Now, again, it's important to point out that with television, what we can show you is what is at the end of the television camera. The whole city is not in smoke and flames, not by a long shot. The city is on a terrorist alert. Entry into the city has been closed off. Tunnels and bridges are closed off as a precautionary measure. But, you know, in many, many areas of New York City, life goes on this morning, and the same is true in Washington, D.C. So just keep in mind that when you see this picture constantly, it's of one section of New York City, and we go to Washington for the picture there, the Pentagon, the same thing. These pictures...
All right, this is Mike Buchanan along with Andrea Roan. We're here in Washington.
Just keep in mind that when you see this picture constantly, it's of one section of New York City, and we go to Washington for the picture there, the Pentagon, the same thing. These pictures are not in real time. As you can see, that made it look like that the flames were spreading. This picture steadied now.
Peter?
Yes, Dan.
What appeared to happen from my vantage point, the top part of the building was totally involved in fire, and there appeared to be no effort possible to put that fire out. It looked like the top part of the building was so weakened by the fire that the weight of it collapsed the rest of the building. That's what appeared to happen. I did not see anything happening at the base of the building. It all appeared to start at the top and then just collapse the rest of the building by the sheer weight of the top. There was no explosion or anything at the base part of it, but I did see that the top part of it started to collapse. The walls started to bulge out, bricks, glass things coming out, and then it collapsed in on itself, and it appeared to just fold down from there, from the very top.
Thanks, Don, very much.
The building that was hit by the second plane, the plane that we actually saw hit the building live during our coverage, that is the building that has just collapsed. Now, it bears noting that that plane seemed to come in at a lower altitude. It hit the building lower down, and there was that tremendous fireball. So the damage to the building came at a point where there is much more weight on top of it, and those steel girders, strong as they are, had a lot of weight to support, and apparently, I'm not a structural engineer, but I'm just guessing now that they gave way. The loss of life here is going to be enormous.
Just looking at that, I don't know why, but when was the last time the United States was attacked in this fashion? It was Pearl Harbor in 1941.
We saw earlier the smoke, it's considerably less black than it was a few minutes ago, indicating that they're making some progress in putting those flames out. But now there seems to be a lot of smoke coming from the lower portion of the World Trade Center. And again, we had a report.
A new black smoke.
We had a report indicating that there was an explosion on the lower floors.
Let's recap, Mike.
All right, what are we going to figure? Hold on, here's a...
These are raw footage coming back. That's our reporter there on the scene who will be giving us stories in just a few minutes.
Spoken again to U.S. officials with access to the highest intelligence, and they are now confirming that it does appear that at the Pentagon it was a plane. Again, they are saying they believe now a third plane was involved at the Pentagon.
And of course, this has been the nightmare, Katie, for national security officials for a long time. We talk about nuclear bombs and those kinds of exchanges or invasions, but everyone has been terribly worried about the suitcase-sized bomb of some kind, or an airplane, or an attack on our subways in the large cities. And this, obviously, no one had anticipated. 3 airplanes that were deliberately aimed at critical targets in America. We can only hope that it's over for today, but officials are taking no chances on all of that. They're evacuating all critical buildings because, as Mr. Johnson said earlier, this is an open society. James Kallstrom from the FBI also pointing out that almost anyone can come in here. They have access to so many instruments that can be used as instruments of attack and terrorism, and that certainly has been the case today.
I want to underscore again that both towers have been hit. Both towers, each tower was hit by an aircraft, incoming aircraft. The origin of the aircraft, what kind of planes, unknown. I was saying before there have been these reports, but the reports are unconfirmed, that an aircraft in the Eastern Air Corridor may have been hijacked this morning and may have been one of the planes that crashed in the World Trade Center. None of that is confirmed.
I can see everything. I was in my bed this morning. My whole building shook. I got up, looked to see what was going on. Everything was up in flames. 10 minutes later, not literally, the other plane, I swear to you, deliberately went into the next World Trade Center building. Deliberately. There was no mistake about it. It deliberately went in there. I have a clear view of everything.
Harold, if you hear us, come in.
I arrived on the scene about an hour and a half ago, and believe it or not, there was another major explosion. The building itself, literally the top of it, came down, sending smoke and debris everywhere. I had to do all I could to run to get away from all the debris. Me and a number of other people here are trapped in the subway here in a shoe store, actually trying to get away from most of the debris. It's just an incredible sight. They had a lot of emergency workers around the building, and of course everybody's hoping that these people were able to get out of there without being injured. But it is a surreal and devastating scene over here, something like I've never seen before.
We have just been told that this, what we thought was another explosion, was indeed, according to the Associated Press, another building that has either been attacked or exploded. So it appears to be separate from the two that we have already witnessed this morning. And if you take a look at this scene right now, the smoke that is billowing over Lower Manhattan is truly a frightening sight to see.
Well, Harold, if I may, take a deep breath, take a series of deep breaths, and then let me ask you, have you seen any indication that would tend to confirm these reports, which have been growing in intensity, that a section of the World Trade Center has collapsed onto the street below? Do you see any confirmation of that in any direction?
That is true, Dan. That's what we were all running from. We heard the building coming down, and that's what we were running from. Literally, people ran out of their shoes trying to get out of the way of this thing.
Twin Towers, it's folding before your eyes.
Also confirmed,
and this is the collapse. We're showing you, this is the collapse, ladies and gentlemen, on videotape. The collapse that just happened. Unbelievable.
One eyewitness here in this AP report says he was getting off a PATH train to the World Trade Center and saw bodies falling out of the building. As he approached it, police told him to get out of the building immediately. He ran outside and watched people jump out of the first building, and then there was a second explosion.
May God help those who are there, and the victims and their families, and all the souls that are lost today.
I think it's safe to say that virtually every family in America is going to be touched by this disaster.
Paul Begla, according to the AP, a Democratic consultant, said he witnessed an explosion near the Pentagon. He described it as a huge fireball, a huge orange fireball. He said another witness told him that a helicopter exploded. We are going to go once again to the explosion that just occurred. And this again is the first tower of the World Trade Center.
Right now, what police have to determine is whether that explosion was caused from the initial impact of the plane or whether it was something that was exploded on the ground. Generally speaking, for a building to collapse in on itself like that, it would seem to indicate, obviously this is just early speculation, but it would seem to indicate that there could have been an explosion, a bomb planted on the ground that would make the building collapse within itself.
We first reported to you that there were reports of a first plane that may have been hijacked from Boston. Now we're hearing that that second plane may have. These are reports now. This is unconfirmed, that this report is saying that the second plane may have come from Newark Airport.
We can, by the way, if we can cue the tape, we can show you that second attack, or at least the second explosion in the Trade Center that occurred at about 9:15 Eastern Time.
Just 2 seconds ago, half of the building just fell out. There's nothing but white smoke. I can no longer see the World Trade Center now. It's all up in smoke. The smoke is on my terrace. That's how close I am. My mom is coughing because the smoke is on my terrace.
And you're across the bay in Brooklyn.
I'm across the bay in Brooklyn. I can see everything. We're in Clinton Hill, Brooklyn. This is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It was like television.
This is an unbelievable scene. I don't think anybody ever could have imagined something as horrific as what we're seeing right now.
It continues to get worse, and joining us, Kyle Beard, who's an eyewitness, joining us now on the phone. Kyle?
Yes, hi.
What, did you just witness that collapse?
My neighbor and I did, yes, but I saw this second plane.
Now, when you said it seemed as if the side had fallen off the building?
The side of the building has fallen out. It seemed like there was another explosion. I heard something go boom, and everything just like fell out.
Is that a third explosion now?
I don't know if it was the third explosion or was it from the fire.
There you can see to the right of your screen a plane coming in. We do have a report of a hijacked American Airlines plane. It comes into the south side and then boom.
Brandy, after you saw that second plane hit deliberately, as you say, the side of the World Trade Center, then you heard a third explosion?
Then I heard, not necessarily a third explosion, just 10 minutes ago, like a whole side of the building just fell out.
I see.
And I could hear like the rumble, the crash of all the windows coming down.
So that could indicate some sort of a weakness, the
Right.
structure
And now,
of the building weakened.
I can't even see the World Trade Center building.
It's too much covered with smoke.
It's too much covered with smoke.
I see. Well,
I mean, the smoke is coming on my terrace. That's how much smoke it is.
I see, Brandy. Thank you very much.
And then just in the last several minutes, there has been a second explosion, or at least perhaps not an explosion, perhaps part of the building simply collapsed. And that's what we saw, and that's what we're looking at.
Harvey, this obviously has all the earmarks of terrorism.
Yes, unfortunately it does. And, you know, I've been in this business almost 40 years, and quite frankly, I couldn't have written a scenario like this. If I would have come forward with something like a possibility like this, they would have laughed. I mean, this has all of the worst-case scenarios put together into one.
Everything is white outside my window. What happened, I saw the second building blow, and it just crumbled down, and I saw the core of the building slowly crush to the ground, fall to the ground. Out my window now, I can see nothing. Everything is white.
When you think of the psychological trauma this is going to cause to New Yorkers and to Americans, it's monumental. It's off the map.
I think we're going to have a very heightened awareness. I think we have to in terms of protecting the things that are basic to us. I think we have to be careful, though, not to overdo it to the point that we wind up compromising completely what we've come to expect. If we overreact and take away the basic liberties we need, we'll have a problem. On the other hand, we can be very, very concerned, very concise, and do what we need to do and still be respectful of what the country stands for. But the most important piece, I think.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting you all the time, but what we heard from Brandy just a few minutes ago apparently has now been confirmed that a portion of the side of the World Trade Center has indeed collapsed.
It's fair to say, according to sources that we've talked to here at NBC, that the FBI rescue operations and other FBI operations are really in chaos right now because they can't reach their officials in New York. All of their phone lines are down, and now you've got all of their special experts on this stuck in Monterey, California, trying to get a military flight back because there are no longer commercial flights. So they are seriously out of pocket, and there is a real breakdown of the FBI anti-terror coordination team, which is, of course, the principal team that would lead any effort and was so effective under Jim Kallstrom in New York City during the World Trade Center bombing and the TWA explosion, which, of course, turned out not to be terror.
Andrea, is the State Department taking this claim of responsibility from the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine seriously?
What, if there are signals you can read in that as an expert on all of this, what can you tell us about that?
Well, it shows that, you know, in the last couple of years, and I just got off of the embassy bombing trial, I was involved in that, and I've seen a picture painted of Osama bin Laden, not to say that he's involved in this necessarily.
I think it is far too early for them, even the best experts in the government, to figure this out. They have one instant reaction, as you know, and it could be wrong, but their immediate reaction in a case like this would be to look toward Osama bin Laden and the collateral groups connected to him, simply because he has proved with the embassy bombings in Africa that he is the one terror leader who is capable of this kind of highly coordinated attack. The bombings went off in Tanzania and in Kenya almost simultaneously. It was extraordinarily well coordinated. They proved their case to a jury effectively and have managed to develop a great deal of information from sources from, in fact, turning some former members of his network.
Andrea?
So they believe, Tom, that he is the most likely person, but it's far too early to say anything.